Chosen one, something is about to happen that you have not seen coming. Something so specific, so precisely timed for where you are right now, that when it arrives, the very people who looked past you, who whispered that you were not enough, who quietly celebrated when things did not go your way, they will not be able to explain it. They will be left without words, because what is being prepared for you is not ordinary. And you were not brought here by accident. There is a force that moves through the lives of those who were set apart, not loudly, not with announcement. It moves like a current beneath the surface of everything that appears still. And that current has been working in your life for longer than you realize. What looks like waiting is not waiting at all. What feels like silence is not absence. The ground beneath your feet has been shifting, and you are standing closer to the threshold than you know. Before this message ends, there is something I want to say directly over your life. Something that will still be sitting with you long after you leave this place. But first, I need you to understand what brought you here, because the timing of this moment is not casual. People do not arrive at this kind of message unless something inside them has been pulling them forward. And if you are still here, if you have not looked away, then what I am about to tell you is meant specifically for you. There is an offer coming, not from people, not from a network, not from a system that has repeatedly overlooked you. The offer that is coming is the kind that rewrites the narrative that others wrote about your life without your permission. It is the kind that makes the people who wrote you off stop in their tracks. It is the kind that God reserves for those who stayed faithful when nothing around them confirmed it. And I want you to understand why this offer is coming to you and not to someone else. Because that reason matters. It is the entire point of what I am about to share with you. Type 444 inches. The comments right now, if you have been in a season where no one saw what God was building in you. Chosen one, there are signs that someone is moving into a season of divine upgrade. And I want to name them carefully, because the people who are about to receive what I am describing carry very specific marks. These are not signs of someone who has it all together. These are not signs of someone who performed perfectly. These are signs of someone who has been through something and survived it with their soul intact. Let me tell you what I see when I look at where you are. The first sign is this: you have grown quieter. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you have become very selective about who you speak to and what you pour your words into. Somewhere in the last season, maybe the last year, maybe longer, you stopped explaining yourself to people who were not going to understand anyway. There is a kind of internal editing that happens when someone is being prepared for something larger. You say less. You observe more. You have started to feel the difference between conversations that fill you and conversations that drain you, and you have begun, slowly and quietly, to protect your energy in a way you did not used to. The people around you sometimes mistake this silence for withdrawal. What is actually happening is that you are becoming dangerous in the most sacred sense of the word. The second sign: you have felt a separation happening that you did not choose and could not fully explain. People who were once close have drifted. Relationships that once felt essential have quietly faded. Invitations that used to feel exciting feel hollow. Environments that used to feel comfortable feel too small now. And at first it's done. You asked yourself what you did wrong. You replayed conversations and tried to locate the moment things shifted. But slowly, over time, a different understanding has been forming in you. Not every departure is a loss. Some people were not built for the version of you that is emerging. Their exit was not rejection. It was alignment. The loneliness you felt in that process was not evidence that something was wrong with you. It was the temporary discomfort of a recalibration that is now almost complete. The third sign: there is something inside you that refuses to settle. Even in the moments when you have tried to convince yourself to be okay with less, something deeper pushed back. A restlessness that is not anxiety, a hunger that is not greed, a knowing that whispers in your quietest hours, in the middle of the night, in the space between tasks, that you were made for more than what is currently visible. Other people around you seem to have accepted the ceiling. They have accommodated themselves to their limitations. They have stopped asking the bigger questions. And you watch them do that, and something in you cannot follow. That knowing is not arrogance. That refusal to settle is not immaturity. It is your original design trying to remind you of who you actually are. The fourth sign. You have had moments in the last season, brief and unexpected, where something clicked, where a thought arrived fully formed, where a solution appeared before the problem had finished presenting itself, where you felt, even for a moment, something like the version of you that you remember being at your sharpest, and then it faded, and you could not reproduce it on demand. And that gap between what you glimpsed and what has become your average has been one of the most quietly frustrating things you carry. That gap is not random. It is evidence. Evidence of a capacity that was designed to be fully accessible, that something interrupted, and that is about to be restored. The fifth sign. You have carried a weight that most people around you could not see. The burden of a calling you have not fully stepped into yet. The exhaustion that comes not from doing too much but from being compressed, held in, unable to fully expand into the space you were built for. People looking at your life from the outside may have seen someone who was stuck, but what they were actually watching was a seed in the dark. And seeds in the dark are not stuck. They are becoming. The weight you have been carrying is not punishment. It is the evidence of the magnitude of what is being carried. Small assignments do not require this kind of compression. Only significant ones do. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is not the universe malfunctioning. This is the unmistakable signature of someone who has been set apart for a moment that has not arrived yet. But it is arriving. And the timing matters more than you know. Beneath every one of these signs lives a single current, a direction that everything in your life has been quietly moving toward. And before we go further, I need to tell you about the ground you have been walking through, because this matters. The ground of this season is not just background. It is the subject of the message itself. There is a season that every person who was chosen for something significant has had to walk. It is not a punishment. It does not look like failure from the inside, but it looks exactly like failure from the outside. The wilderness. The in-between. The place where the old version of your life has already ended, but the new version has not yet fully appeared. You know this place. You may still be standing in it. What happens in this season is not obvious at first. What feels like stagnation is actually formation. What feels like delay is actually development. What feels like silence is actually the kind of strategic quiet that precedes something loud. The character that is being formed in you right now, the patience, the discernment, the ability to hold steady in the middle of uncertainty, those are not side effects of the waiting. Those are the point. You are not being kept from your season. You are being prepared for it. And the preparation is happening at a level that goes far deeper than circumstances. There are things that can only be deposited into a person when everything external goes quiet, when the applause stops, when the validation dries up, when the people who used to celebrate you have moved on to celebrating someone else. In that stripped-down silence, something ancient begins to speak, and what it deposits in you cannot be manufactured any other way. This is the gift of the wilderness. Not a comfortable gift, but a permanent one. The things that were built in you in the seasons where you had nothing to show for it are the things that cannot be taken when everything changes. The people who doubted you during this season were not wrong about what they saw. They were wrong about what it meant. They saw someone who appeared to be falling behind. They saw someone who appeared to be struggling while others moved forward. They did not see what God was building beneath the surface. They did not see the roots going deeper with every year that passed without obvious fruit. They did not see the compression becoming structural strength. They did not see the fire becoming something that does not burn out. What they saw was incomplete data, and the offer that is coming will complete the picture for them in a way they were not prepared for. What they called stagnation, God called development. What they called falling behind, God called sequencing. What they called silence, God called strategy. What they called invisible, God called incubation. And the person who emerges from that kind of invisible season does not emerge the same as someone who was never tested. They emerge as something else entirely. You have been asking questions in this season, questions that do not have easy answers. Why is this taking so long? Why do others seem to move faster? Why does my potential feel so disconnected from my current reality? Why do the doors I try to open stay closed, while doors seem to open easily for people who do not appear to have prepared the way you have prepared? These questions are not weakness. They are the honest expression of someone who was built for more and knows it. And the answers are not always verbal. Sometimes the answer to a question you have been holding for years arrives not as an explanation but as a door. And when that door appears, you either walk through or you do not. There is something I want to share with you now, something a small group of researchers discovered that changed the way I understand why so many chosen ones feel as though something has been taken from them. Something specifically about the mind, about what was once natural to you as a child that most people have simply accepted as permanently lost. I want to plant this question in you and come back to it. What if the fog you have been living in, the sense that you are not operating at full capacity, the feeling that the version of your mind that was most alive is harder and harder to access? What if that is not who you are, but what was done to you? A group of neuroscientists, led by a doctor in New York who has spent more than 20 years studying this, found something that surprised even them. Something surprisingly simple about how the brain was designed to work and what interrupts that design as we move through the world. I am going to tell you what they found later in this message, but I want you to carry this question into everything we are about to discuss. The link to what they found is in the description and pinned comment below for those who are already ready. For now, stay with me, because there is something deeper that needs to be understood first. The offer that is coming into your life is not something you earned by performing perfectly. It is not a reward for having no doubts. It is not reserved for the polished, the unbroken, the ones who never fell apart. Let me be very clear about this. The offer is coming because of what you refused to let go of in the middle of everything that tried to take it from you. You refused to let go of the knowing, the deep, stubborn, embarrassingly persistent knowing that this is not how your story ends. That knowing is not naive optimism. That knowing is a mark, and it is a mark that God does not place on ordinary people. The persistence itself was never accidental. It was always evidence. Now, let me talk about what has been blocking the offer, because this is the part that most people miss. And if you miss it, you can receive everything that is coming and still not be able to hold it properly. There is an obstacle that is specific to those who were chosen for something significant. It is not the obstacle that most people think. It is not lack of talent. It is not the wrong connections. It is not bad timing, though the enemy has used every one of those as a surface explanation to keep the real issue hidden. The real obstacle is something that formed in you during the wilderness, and it formed because it had to. There is a version of yourself that became very good at surviving in the compressed space. The version of you that learned how to hold yourself together under doubt, under pressure, under the quiet weight of being misunderstood for extended periods of time. That version of you was necessary. That version kept you alive in the wilderness. That version was a gift, but that version also learned some things that are no longer serving you as you approach the threshold. It learned to manage expectations. It learned to protect itself by not wanting too much out loud. It learned to stay small enough that disappointment could not reach the most vulnerable parts of your hope. It learned to brace, to prepare for the worst even when hoping for the best. It learned to make itself a little easier to dismiss, a little less visible, a little more accommodating of the narratives that others placed on it, because fighting those narratives in the wilderness cost too much energy and produced too little result. And that adaptation, that survival architecture, has become the thing that is now most in the way. Because you cannot receive the offer at the size God intends for it if the container you have built yourself into is still sized for survival. The expansion that is required of you right now is not primarily about doing more or working harder or making more strategic moves. It is about something more fundamental. It is about allowing yourself to be bigger, about unlearning the protective smallness that kept you safe and allowing the real dimensions of what you were made to carry to become visible again. This is not a comfortable unlearning. It requires a kind of courage that does not get celebrated publicly. It requires you to stop apologizing for the size of your calling, to stop making yourself easier for skeptical people to dismiss, to stop bracing for the disappointment that has not arrived yet, to let yourself believe in full, without the defensive hedge, without the qualification that walks back the hope, that the offer coming is as large as something inside you has always suspected it might be. Here is a practical way to identify where this contraction is happening in you. Notice what happens when someone asks about your future. Notice whether you instinctively scale back your answer. Notice whether you give them the honest version of what you believe is coming, or whether you give them the managed version, the smaller version, the version you have decided they can handle, without looking at you strangely. That gap between the honest version and the managed version is the gap between where you are and where the offer is waiting. Closing that gap does not require announcing anything to anyone. It requires something internal. It requires letting yourself fully know what you know about yourself, without requiring external validation to hold that knowing in place. The people who doubted you do not need to change their opinion before you are allowed to change yours. The offer does not require their acknowledgement before it arrives. It requires yours. Before I show you what that offer actually looks like in full, and before I tell you about what the researchers in New York discovered, I want to say something that I believe you need to hear directly. You were not behind. You are not behind. Let me say that again, clearly and without qualification. You are not behind. The timeline that you have been measuring yourself against was never the right timeline. The people you compared yourself to were not running the same race. The pace that felt like slowness to you was exactly the pace that was required to build what was being built in you. You were not delayed. You were sequenced. And sequencing is not punishment. It is precision. There is a principle that the wisest people who have ever lived have always known. Joseph knew it in the pit before he knew the palace. David knew it in the fields before he knew the throne. Moses knew it in the desert before he knew the mountain. Every one of the great lives you have ever been inspired by was shaped not by the moments of visible triumph, but by the long, quiet, invisible seasons of formation that preceded them. The world only sees the arrival. It does not see the journey. It does not see the years. It does not see the price. God designed every part of it, including the part that looked most like failure. And your journey has been producing something that is now ready, something that has been developing beneath the surface of everything that appeared to go wrong, a resilience that is not fragile, a wisdom that was purchased at a real price, a depth of character that cannot be faked and cannot be shortcut and cannot be acquired any faster than the time it actually requires. The people who doubted you watched the surface and drew their conclusions. They do not know what is underneath. They do not know what is about to arrive at the surface, but they are going to find out. Not every closed door was a rejection. Some closed doors were protection from a version of the destination that was not yet ready to hold you. Not every failure was evidence that you were wrong. Some failures were the corrective pressure that shaped you into someone who can actually sustain what is coming at the size it is coming. Not every person who left was evidence that you were hard to love. Some people who left were simply not equipped for where you were going. Not every season of silence was abandonment. Some seasons of silence were the necessary quiet before the kind of announcement that changes everything and cannot be undone. Type Amen in the comments if you receive that right now. Now, let me tell you about the mind, about what it was before, about what happened to it, and about what is being restored. When you were a child, and I mean very young, your brain operated in a state that neuroscientists who have spent decades studying this call whole brain activation, both hemispheres firing in full synchronization, not partially, not intermittently, fully. The left side and the right side working as one integrated instrument, the analytical and the intuitive operating together, the logical and the creative running in parallel, the rational and the receptive working in coordination, together in a state that produced something that looked almost magical from the outside. That is why children learn new languages in months that adults struggle with for years. That is why a child can pick up an instrument and begin playing by ear before they even understand what notes are. That is why a child can grasp an abstract idea and make sense of it through imaginative play in ways that leave adults staring in admiration. That is why children experience the world with a sense of wonder and openness that adults quietly grieve the loss of. It was not just enthusiasm. It was not just innocence. It was the neurological state of whole brain activation, both hemispheres operating in synchronization, and you were born with it fully operational. Every child is. Here is what happened to it. The world was not designed to preserve it. The educational systems that shaped most of us trained one hemisphere aggressively and neglected the other in equal measure. Performance pressure systematically shut down the receptive channels. Social survival required conformity, and conformity is one of the most effective suppressors of whole brain flow that has ever existed. Stress, which most adults carry as a permanent background condition, keeps the nervous system in a survival state that is neurologically incompatible with whole brain synchronization. And so, by the time most people reach adulthood, the synchronization that was once automatic has been interrupted, not destroyed, interrupted. The architecture is still there. The capacity is still there. But the operating state has been disrupted, and the disruption became so normal that most people stopped noticing it was not the original design. The science for this is not abstract. Dr. Roger Sperry, a researcher who won the Nobel Prize in 1981 for his foundational work on split brain research, established clearly that the two hemispheres of the brain are designed to work in coordination, but can be functionally disconnected by the conditions of modern life. And when that disconnection happens, people begin to experience something very specific, not dramatic, not catastrophic, a quiet, persistent sense that the version of them that was most alive, most capable, most insightful, most creatively fluid has become harder and harder to access. You know this feeling. You have described it in different words at different times. Brain fog, feeling like you are running at partial capacity, reaching for a thought that should be easy and finding it just outside your grasp, having a response you know is right but losing it before you can speak it. The creativity that once came easily requiring effort that exhausts you before it produces anything. The intuitive knowing that used to guide you clearly becoming harder to hear through the noise of everything else. You blamed yourself for these things. You called it age. You called it stress. You called it the inevitable consequence of adult life. But that is not what it is. Something was taken from you at the neural level. And that is not a small thing, because the mind that operates with both hemispheres in full synchronization is not a slightly upgraded version of the mind that does not. It is a fundamentally different instrument. The insight that would have arrived in the first 5 minutes of a problem now takes an hour. The creative solution that once came in a moment of flow now requires effortful work that sometimes never produces the result anyway. The sense of certainty, of knowing that you knew something and could trust it, has been replaced by a chronic second guessing that adds friction to everything. This is not who you are. This is what was done to you. And the same God who called you chosen, the same source that placed the calling in you before you were born, did not design you to live beneath the capacity of the mind that was given to you. There is a way back to it, and it is closer than you think. Dr. Daniel Barone is a neurologist based in New York City who has spent more than 2 decades studying exactly this. Not brain waves in the general sense, not frequency entrainment. Something more specific, more targeted, and more grounded in the established science of what actually happens in the brain when the 2 hemispheres return to synchronized operation. What his team developed after years of clinical research is called the Genius Switch. It is an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes per day is the complete protocol. Not because it is a shortcut, but because that is precisely what the mechanism requires to initiate and sustain hemisphere synchronization. The technology is called Neural Sync Technology. The foundation is Dr. Sperry is Nobel Prize research. The application is practical and accessible in a way that clinical neurofeedback never has been. What it does in technical language is activate the synchronization of both hemispheres through a precisely designed auditory sequence. What it does in human terms is begin to restore the state of whole brain activation that was yours as a child and that the conditions of modern life interrupted. You put on headphones. You close your eyes. 8 minutes. It works beneath your awareness. You do not need to concentrate on it, or meditate during it, or visualize anything, or repeat anything. The sequence initiates the synchronization process without requiring your conscious direction, and the cumulative effect over days and weeks is what people who have used it describe as a return to mental clarity they had forgotten was possible, a return to creativity that arrives without forcing, a return to the intuitive knowing that once felt natural and that had become so muted they had stopped expecting it. I want to tell you about a woman from California, a nurse who had tried meditation, manifestation programs, and various audio tracks she found through searching. Nothing worked in a sustained way. She described her life as something happening to her rather than something she was creating. Her mind felt foggy. Her relationships felt distant. She had moments of clarity, but they would not hold. 2 weeks after she began listening to the 8-minute sequence each day, she described something shifting, not all at once and not dramatically, consistently, day by day. The fog began to lift. Solutions started arriving before problems had finished presenting themselves. Her husband noticed the change before she had words for it. She described her life as feeling, and this was her exact word, enchanted. Not because her external circumstances had changed overnight, because the instrument she was using to navigate her circumstances had come back online. There is a man from Texas who runs an online business and has 2 children. He described feeling like his brain was running on partial power. His wife noticed the change after about 2 months and joked that his IQ had increased by 10 to 20 points. His business results improved. His evenings with his children changed. He described it as feeling like his brain was firing on all cylinders again for the first time in years. These are not outliers. These are what whole brain activation looks like when it is restored in someone who carries a calling and has been operating below the capacity of the mind they were given. Now, let me tell you about the offer. What Dr. Barone and his colleagues described as an incredible value at $500, accounting for what clinical neural sync sessions cost in a professional setting, and in-home neurofeedback machines, which run as high as $7,000, is available through his direct page at a list price of $49. Because you have stayed through this entire message, and your spirit has been present and open to what has been shared, there is an additional $10 off. Today, on this specific page, you can access the Genius Switch for $39, and that $39 comes with 4 additional tools at no additional cost. A guided visualization covering money, love, health, and happiness. A grocery guide identifying 10 common foods that create the brain fog conditions that work against hemisphere synchronization, along with practical replacement strategies. A classic text on attraction and abundance that is the root of most modern techniques in this space. And a printable infographic of 5 habits that protect and sustain the neural environment you are rebuilding. Everything, $39, backed by a complete money-back guarantee with no time limit and no restriction on how many times you have listened. You can listen once. You can listen 80 times. If it does not do what has been described, you receive every cent back. No process, no questions. That is not a risk. That is an invitation. One thing I must tell you clearly, if you search for anything labeled Genius Switch or Neural Sync on streaming platforms or general video sites, you will find content using that kind of language. Dr. Barone's team has studied what is available. The majority of those tracks have no neural sync technology embedded. They were labeled that way because the label attracts attention. The mechanism that Dr. Barone developed took years of clinical work to build correctly. It cannot be replicated casually. The actual sequence is available only through his direct page. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment below this message. When you secure the Genius Switch today, Dr. Barone may offer 1 additional audio designed to protect and sustain what is being rebuilt in the mind. Your spirit will know whether that is for you. Do not overthink it. If the answer is yes, take it. If not, the original is more than enough. If your spirit is resonating with this, the link is waiting for you in the description and pinned comment below. Investigate only if you feel called to. Let me tell you what I believe is actually happening in your life right now, because I want you to understand the full picture before we close. The offer that is coming for you is larger than any single tool. The Genius Switch is one part of the larger story, and an important one, addressing something very specific about the mind that was given to you and has been running below its design capacity. But the larger offer, the one that shocks the people who doubted you, that is something God has been preparing in the invisible for years. It is the full expression of what you were built for, arriving now because you are finally ready to hold it. Here is what that offer looks like in the practical dimensions of your life. It looks like doors opening in places you stopped expecting them, not because you finally performed well enough to deserve access, but because the season of formation is complete and the season of expression has begun. It looks like people being placed in your path who are specifically aligned with where you are going, not consolation prizes pointed toward where you have been. It looks like ideas arriving with a clarity and a confidence that bypasses the second guessing that has been your constant companion. It looks like provision appearing at the exact moment when the work you have been doing invisibly begins to become visible to the people who have the authority to say yes. This is not about suddenly having an easier life. The people who have been set apart for something significant do not get easier lives. They get more equipped lives. They get deeper wisdom and stronger discernment, and a capacity to carry what would break someone who had not been through what they had been through. The offer is not comfort. The offer is commission. And when you are commissioned at the level you were designed for, the people who doubted you will not simply be surprised. They will be undone by the distance between their prediction and the reality. There is something that belongs to you that was taken, not by accident, not by coincidence. The mind that was given to you, operating in the full state of whole brain activation, the clarity that was yours before the world interrupted it, the capacity for insight and creativity and intuitive knowing that belonged to you as a child, and that is still your birthright, that was taken from you at the neural level by the conditions of modern life. And the God who designed your original architecture did not intend for it to stay taken. The resilience of the calling in you is evidence. It should have been extinguished by now, by the doubt, by the delay, by the seasons where nothing external confirmed what you were carrying internally. The fact that it persisted is not your achievement. It is the signature of the one who placed it in you. And the same source that kept the calling alive through every season that tried to extinguish it is the same source that is providing the way back to the full capacity of the mind that calling was given to operate through. Type "I receive" in the comments right now if something in you just recognized that as true. I want to do something with you now. This is not a pause. This is an activation. Do not move past it. In your mind right now, I want you to stand up from wherever you have been sitting inside yourself during this season. The version of you that has been waiting. The version of you that has been managing its expectations to protect itself from another disappointment. I want that version to stand up, not defensively, not bracing, but standing the way someone stands when they have finally heard something they recognize as completely true. Now, I want you to picture the version of you that received the offer, the version that walked through the door, the version that was operating with the full capacity of the mind that was given to you at birth, not straining, not pushing through resistance, simply being exactly who you were designed to be, with access to exactly the wisdom and the insight and the neural architecture that God built into you before the world interrupted it. Look at that person, not with longing, not with grief about the distance, with recognition, because that is not a stranger. That is not a fantasy. That is you. That is you at the capacity you were born with. That is you with the offer received and the calling operating at its full dimension. The gap between where you are standing right now and where that person stands is not as large as everything you have been through has trained you to perceive it as. It is closer, and it is closing. And the timing of this message in your life is not casual. Take a real breath. Let what just landed in you settle, not as something distant, as something imminent, as something moving toward you with the same inevitability as the morning that follows the longest night you have ever survived. Now let me speak over your life. Father, for every chosen one who has been carrying this weight, for everyone who has been faithful in the invisible seasons when faithfulness produced nothing visible, for everyone who held on when holding on did not make sense, and when the evidence around them argued loudly for giving up, for the ones who kept the fire alive in the wilderness when no one was watching, when no one was celebrating, when no one believed what they believed about themselves and about what was coming. I come before you on their behalf. Let the offer arrive now. Let the doors that were prepared for them open. Let the provision that was sequenced for this exact moment appear. Let the people who doubted them see what was being built beneath the surface of every season they misread. Let the mind that was given to them come back online fully. Let the hemisphere synchronization restore. Let the genius that was planted in them before birth reawaken now, not as something new but as something returned. Let the calling that has been compressed become visible. Let the assignment that has been forming in the quiet of the long seasons become launched. Let the size of what is coming make the size of what was doubted look small by comparison. I speak over every chosen one hearing this right now. The season of being overlooked is ending. The season of being written off is ending. The season of carrying what no one around you could see is completing its work. It produced what it was meant to produce. It deposited what could only be deposited in that season. And now it is complete. What comes next is not what they expected for you. It is not what their analysis predicted. It is not what the wilderness suggested to people who only saw the outside. What comes next is the offer, the full expression of what you were designed for, arriving now because you are ready to hold it. And when it arrives, there will be no confusion about where it came from. It came from the same source that placed the calling in you before you were born. The same source that kept the fire burning through every season that tried to extinguish it. The same source that is speaking over you right now through this message at this specific moment in your life. You were chosen. You are chosen. And what was taken from you is being returned. I am chosen. I am prepared. I am the one who survived the wilderness and came out carrying something that cannot be shaken. I am the one the offer was being built for. I am ready to receive at the level I was designed to carry. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. And so it is. Stay there for a moment. Let it settle. If this message brought you clarity in a season of confusion, if it named something you have been carrying without a name, let your like be your amen, without words. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who has been in their own wilderness season, someone who has been faithfully carrying something that no one around them can see, someone whose light has been dimmer than it should be for longer than it should have been, share this with them. Because sometimes the most divine thing one chosen one can do for another is point them to the message they did not know they needed. Type, I am ready in the comments right now with the certainty of someone who just received confirmation for what they already knew was true. And remember, the genius switch is not a trick, it is not a gimmick. It is 8 minutes of audio doing what your brain once did on its own when you were 8 years old. If you have ever felt like you were chosen for more than what your mind in its current state has been able to help you access, this is how you come back to it. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Only follow it if your spirit confirms it is for you. You were not brought here by accident, and what is coming for you was not assembled by chance. Stay close. What comes next was built for you.